Welcome back. This is Josh.
And this is Matt.
And this is the Call to the Brewman's Bottle.
The Call to the Brewman's Bottle.
So it's good to be back here again this evening. We took a little break, and I know that I speak for the both of us when I say that we've missed you guys, and we have just really wanted to sit down and talk with you. But after all the work that we've had in since episode 12, we wanted to put a lot of thought into the progression of the podcast moving forward now that we've accomplished our first real big milestone. And we just wanted to give ourselves a little bit of time to put the proper amount of thought into the decisions that we've made and what we're going to do moving forward. And I know that the end decision that we have made is to stress the fact that we want content for you guys, and we want it at your fingertips so that when you come and you say, okay, I want to sit down and listen to the call, that you can go right to what you want. If it's comics, if it's Dungeons and Dragons, if it's video games, movies, books, what have you, we want you to be able to come to us and go straight to it.
We're going to try something new. Don't think that we don't have a lot of content to talk about, but we're going to do 30-minute segments, and we're going to try it sporadic through the week. That way you guys, like Josh said, have content that's always flowing in, and it's very specific.
Right, and I feel like that'll also help open particular lines of communication. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to completely abandon the idea of putting an episode out on a given day, nor are we going to be unable to continue doing an hour if this isn't what we end up hitting that we feel is going to be exactly what you guys want from a podcast. But I know Matt has people that he talks to about the episodes that we've put out thus far, and I do as well. And one thing that rings true is that everybody wants the podcast in a particular way, and we're going to try to hit that nail on the head. We will still try to hit the mark on Tuesdays, but expect at least one, possibly two more episodes, which are now going to be 30 minutes, every single week as well.
The idea we're going for now that we're on iTunes is to streamline you the best way possible. And like Josh said, you know, this is just something that we're trying out, but of course, if it works, we're going to go with it, and we're just going to go with the flow.
Right. So when you sit down and you listen, be sure to come to us through the different avenues of communication that we're going to have established and that we already do have established, so that you can let us know what it is that you want out of the podcast, or if we're no longer giving you what you want. But let's go ahead and jump right in. This particular episode, we're going to do a Dungeons and Dragons focus.
Dungeon and Dragons.
So we're going to talk a lot about all the different things going on in our lives when it comes to this magnificent tabletop that we're all really fascinated with, I think. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is something that we mentioned in our E3 coverage, and it sounded really, really awesome. Well, there's a lot of information out about the Sword Coast Legends. It's out on Steam for pre-order. You can go ahead and take a look at the different packages that you might be interested in, and it's going to start off at $34.99 for the solo edition of the game, which is going to be just you getting your game. You'll get all the stuff associated with the game itself, but there's another edition called the Campaign Edition where you're going to be able to get 4 other copies of the game, including the copy for yourself, so that you can jump in and take advantage of every single aspect of the Sword Coast Legends.
Not to mention the discount that you get for buying the 5-party deal,
Right.
on top of the 13% pre-order purchase that you get from Steam.
Absolutely. Right now, if you got all your friends together, these 5 people that you want to play this game with, you could spend $30 a head and pick this game up. So we're going to move into a little bit of the content that they've got out in their videos to let you know why we're as fascinated and excited with this game as we are. The first thing I want to talk about is the campaign that they're going to have in this. Now, this is really reminiscent of Neverwinter Nights, Matt. And I can't stress how awesome that is to me. This is going to be where you can jump in with 3 of your friends and throw down on a good old Forgotten Realms campaign. And this one has been produced by the same people that made one of the Dragon Age games, Origins, which is a really positive note when it comes to a fantasy game and what you can expect when it comes to a level of immersion that you're going to get in the Forgotten Realms universe.
So another cool thing about the game itself, it's cross-buy and cross-play. You can get it across every platform on computer, and it'll also come on PS4 and Xbox One as well.
Right. Now, I'm not sure if I've found any info on this. Maybe you can shed some light. Are you saying that you're going to be able to play with the platforms across from each other?
It says cross-buy and cross-play, and they did say that it's coming out for PS4 and Xbox One.
Well, I'm hopeful that you'll be able to play it similarly to Final Fantasy XIV, where your PlayStation friends and your Xbox friends and your PC friends can all jump in together. So the cross-buy means that if you buy the copy of the game,
buy it
you have
on
it
Mac,
on every system?
Yeah, if you buy it on Mac, you can play it on Windows.
Okay, awesome. That's really, really cool. I like that a lot. I wish more games would head in a direction like that. I mean, we know that it's completely possible to do. In Final Fantasy XIV, I play with a buddy of mine that plays on the PS4 when I get down on that game, and it's awesome. We don't even have to think about the fact that I'm on a completely different system than he is. But back to Sword Coast Legends, the specific DM mode we've been mistaken in previous podcasts is not going to be where you can jump in on the campaign as the DM. That's just for you to play through. When you do this particular DM mode, you can DM a dungeon for your friends or a custom campaign. And I kind of wish you could DM in the main campaign, but it definitely makes sense that they want you to have the experience that they've created for you.
So it's either intensify or lessen the dungeons in our story or come up with your own, basically.
Sort of, yeah. They just give you a dungeon. I would expect that it's been designed particularly with instances so that you can affect it as the DM in particular ways. And I bet there are going to be multiple choices where you might be able to do like the cave or the fallen city or so on and so forth. But you will have the customization options to create your own. And one cool thing on the main video that I saw on their website at the end they were talking about with the DM mode is that you might be able to, or that you'll be able to jump in and play some of the boss fights as the DM. You are playing that character. And that leads me into the next thing that I wanted to talk about is that this game has a real-time combat engine, so you're not necessarily doing your moves that you're doing in D&D. You're not necessarily playing a D&D session, but all the rule sets and everything have been implemented into the game for this real-time engine with a pause function so that you can make your tactical decisions, as well as the real time so that it gives a certain element of action that you wouldn't necessarily get from a really rigid D&D rule set video game.
So it gives you the ability to be the strategist, but at the same time you are playing in live time. So
right. Now, the only thing that I wonder about that is if everyone can do the pause function when you're playing in the co-op and the multiplayer.
And then it becomes an actual just D&D game.
Yeah, or not even that it becomes an actual just D&D game, but like I know I've got some friends that will be assholes sometimes and might just pause the game and do whatever.
Hey, that's how Civ was.
Yeah.
If it was your turn and you didn't go, you sat there for hours.
Right. And, you know, I wouldn't want that kind of griefing, especially if you're going to end up playing with randoms online as well as playing with your friends.
Another thing I want to add for the crowd out there to boost your want to buy this game, it got Best Role-Playing Game of E3. It got a nomination for Best in Show for Game Informer, and PC World gave a top 10 rating on it.
Right on. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad that we found out about it at E3, and this is really going to be a fun release when it does come out. And it still just says coming 2015 on the website, but I'm sure we can expect some more solid detail.
There is a solid date. It's September 8th.
Oh.
It's 1 month and some odd days away. The Steam actually has a counter up.
That's awesome. So jumping in with the electronic D&D, the last thing that I want to say is that the game looks wonderful. I've referenced a little bit of Neverwinter Nights a little while ago. This really does look like a Neverwinter Nights-esque experience where it's the top-down, real-time RPG, and it's got D&D all through it. It's got, 5 races and 6 classes?
Yeah, 5 races and 6 classes.
So that's a good little breakdown of Sword Coast Legends. And I know I am excited to talk about what we've got coming up next. I really know Matt's excited to talk about it, especially once we get to some of the Princes of the Apocalypse content. But the first thing I want to talk about is the Mines of Phandelver campaign starting back up. And this is the one that we're calling the intro campaign.
It's a 7-man party.
It's a huge party, and Matt and myself and one other person are the only people with true D&D experience outside of the Dungeon Master. The first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the Mines of Phandelver is the mounted travel that we introduced at the end of the last session that we had. Now, Matt wasn't at this session. I bought horses at the end of the campaign or at the end of the session for everybody without really looking up any of the travel rules because I just expected to know it. Well, lo and behold, after buying horses for everybody and explaining how we were going to be able to basically ride off into the sunset, I get into the book and I read their travel rules, and they're really not at all what I remember from any other campaign or any other edition of D&D. Wouldn't you agree with that, Matt?
Fast travel used to be what it was meant to be. It was fast travel.
Right.
It cut your time in a half or maybe even down to a quarter.
As read in 5th edition, from what I could find in the PHB, when you travel on a horse, in order to travel from place to place on a horse, every hour you have to let it rest. And if you don't have food and water and so on and so forth to let your horse rest, you cannot ride it for extended periods of time. And it outright says in the book that if you're not in a highly populated area, then you will probably not be able to ride your horse from one place to another. You'll spend time leading him, all kinds of stuff. It adds complications. It is really the opposite. And I'm going to go ahead and say it's the first rule I do not like in 5th edition.
They really paid homage to AD&D with this, and I feel like they're doing it, even though I don't agree with it, they're trying to bog you down to keep you in specific areas. Or if you want to go to a long distance travel, it's going to require you and your DM a lot of work and a lot of playtime.
That makes sense with them moving 90% of the content over to the Sword Coast.
I also think they moved it to the Sword Coast as well because those are the 3 main cities in Forgotten Realms.
The Baldur's Gate, Waterdeep, and Neverwinter.
Yep. And they'll always talk about that. It's also the Forgotten Realms is usually the first thing that comes out on each edition.
So we've put together a homebrew, basically, just a rule set that we're using for travel that's based on our knowledge of travel in previous editions of D&D, where it just takes chunks out of your travel time. Some travel may go from weeks to 1 week or a week to a few days or what have you. And you definitely have to maintain care for your horse, and we have all kinds of things like that going on, but we're allowing the party to get the sense of adventure where you're building yourself up and you have enough wealth that you can go and you can buy a horse and become that much better of an adventurer. So in this particular session, we hopped on our horses and we rode off toward Thunder Tree. Now, I expected one thing out of Thunder Tree, and it was not what we got. What about you, Matt? What did you think Thunder Tree was going to be?
I didn't. I had already read it as a DM, but as a player that's not bringing out of game knowledge in, it definitely doesn't sound like it's zombie infested.
Right. The entire time you're being told you're going to go meet up with this fellow. Who is it? Is it Laosin? It's some elf we've met. I don't remember his name.
Some elf name.
That's part of D&D.
Male elf name.
Got it. I would have to go to my notes. And I probably don't even have it written down. I might have a picture drawn instead. But anyways, So we're going to find this elf who's like the overseer of Thunder Tree to figure out this something that's been plaguing Thunder Tree or what have you. My monk's new to the session, so he's more just going with his party than he is pursuing the quest in particular at this point in time. But we go toward Thunder Tree, and we end up finding out that this place is infested with carnivorous and aggressive plant life and animals, as well as zombies. And when we walk up in this place, it's just absolutely decimated. There's nobody there. There's no sign of this person that we're supposed to be looking for. All we know is that he inhabits this tower that we saw off in the distance as we were walking up, and we're having to make all kinds of checks to try to figure out if we're going in the right direction. It's really skill-based in certain points in this particular session, and it was a whole lot of fun. But we end up making it into one of the buildings, which I believe was a tavern within Thunder Tree. And when we went in there, we awoke some of the zombies that had been plaguing Thunder Tree. And they had a really neat mechanic. And it also gave the indication that they had been there for a really long time. But they were covered in this dust, almost this fungal growth that was on them.
It was ash from the buildings being on fire.
And when you would hit them, you would have to then pass a con save, or was it you were dazed? I don't remember. What was it?
Blinded.
You were blinded on your next turn. And so that changed the entire way that a lot of the melee was going down in the session. Some of our big fighters just run right in, and then all of a sudden everybody's having to make saves because we're fitting 7 people in a room trying to fight 4 zombies. It was just a real neat encounter. And we moved on from that and found what I thought was really a way for the wizard in this campaign to really show out when we hit this web in the woods as we're walking toward where we believe this tower is, where the elf that we're looking for is. And we can't really think of a way to get through it. The fighters can't make it through this particular web because one of our fighters is freaking out. He's role-playing a character that is absolutely mortified by spiders, deathly afraid of them. And so the wizard steps up and just burns through this spider web, scaring off the giant spiders who had come to see what was going on when we were agitating the web in the first place.
We got a drop on them pretty well.
We did. The wizard made that happen. And I really just want to give her props for that. Noob D&D player really showing her salt and what she's learned. But then we pursued the spiders into a building, dispatched of them, found a corpse of someone who had been wrapped up by these spiders inside of the building. And then that's where the session pretty well ended as we were moving further into the forest, heading toward the tower. We got started a little late because Matt and myself showed up a little bit late. And given that we had taken such a long break on this particular campaign, I think everybody was just kind of trying to get their wheels going. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. So let's talk about the next campaign. Princes of the Apocalypse. I DM'd this one. Now, this is the one where we had just left off from the orc assault. The elves showed up, and then what happened, Josh?
So we blew the horn. The elves showed up. They killed, like 3 orcs?
2.
Maybe. Two orcs?
2.
Yeah. I'm really proud, I just want to say again, of the fact that we made it through the entire siege, saved every single inhabitant of the particular homestead that we had fortified, as well as every building of this particular homestead. And the elves show up, they dispatch a couple of them, they try to use some kind of elven leverage on us as though we wouldn't have made it if they didn't show up.
What was it like to interact with the wild elves?
I've got to admit, I'm not a big fan of the pompous people in D&D. I'm going to be the pompous one when we're playing D&D. And my particular role in this campaign is not that at all. So my character completely clammed up, being quiet in a few words. As soon as somebody starts trying to tout something over his head, he's more considering the spells he's about to use on this person more than he's considering whether or not they're actually better than him.
Yeah, right.
So we talk with these wild elves. Like I said, they attempt to try to get some leverage on us. Will you come and help you, da-da-da. And we kind of just look at them and say, you killed all of 2 orcs. Thanks for your ranger. He's really good, but you killed all of 2 orcs for real.
I also want to point out none of the guys in the party do speak Elven, so they had to talk to a translator.
Right, we were talking through a translator, which like that just puts a sour mood on me in the first place when it comes to the necromancer I'm playing. He's not about that life. So, anyways, we end up finding out that the elves actually want our help, which it's beyond me how elves always seem to do this, where they want your help, but somehow they're still better than you when they're asking you for it. They end up basically getting across to us that they found out that someone has been informing on us the entire time since we've left the intro part of the campaign where the assassins were originally trying to get us.
Right, as soon as you enter Red Larch.
When we were trying to find the water cult in Iron Valley. So we take this information, we head back to the Barge Ride Inn for a little rest and a drink or two to find out that this little halfling that stuck us with his tavern at the Barge Ride Inn has returned when he was supposed to be dead.
Miraculously.
Miraculously, he's returned to great party. Everybody's excited. So my dreams of owning the tavern are dashed against the rocks immediately. And we end up talking with this guy, and he has found out that one of the water cultists has been robbing him, and he's found out where he's been taking all of his goods that he's been stealing off of the different caravans that he's been looting as they've been coming into town. So we end up brokering with this halfling that he's going to loan us a boat, and we're going to go on up the river into this place called Riverguard Keep and take out all the cultists we can find at Riverguard Keep.
Now, the reason why he played this deception on him, he's part of a organization called the Order of the Gauntlet, and he actually faked his death to use the party as bait for the other air cultists.
Okay, so the original ordeal was all pretty well his doing. Getting us at the Barge Ride Inn, trying to get us to get the air cult to attack, which they did.
Just giving you a tavern for free?
Yeah, well, man, I don't trust... Halflings are crazy, okay?
You never trusted them, okay?
I don't trust anybody. I'm a necromancer, okay? I trust no one. But anyways, yeah, it was weird, but he's back. I know out of character all about the Order of the Gauntlet. I declare it, join the Order of the Gauntlet. I think they're really awesome, but as a necromancer, I'm going to have to watch my ass.
They're very very zealous when they're with their religious beliefs.
It's like honor domains, life domains, war domains, things like that. Right?
Yeah, it's like their three principal beliefs is you can punish an evil act, you cannot punish an evil thought. You know that your shield, your weapon, and your entitlement is all about your faith. And battling evil can only be achieved with great strength and bravery.
Okay.
So
my
all that mixed
necromancer's gonna have to
together,
watch out.
Yeah, all that mixed together is, you saw how he interrogated that cultist.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like people like that out of character. My character in the actual session, I've still yet to make a decision on how he's going to feel about it. So, moving on into Redguard Keep, we take a boat up the river. We approach the keep at night, we climb up into a tower, and we start methodically killing the water cultists within this keep. We decide not to just burn it to the ground because we've been chasing after this water cult and we want to pull it out from the roots. We've gotten some information from a priestess that we interrogated at the original expedition from Red Larch when we took out a camp of water cultists that has told us that her leader in the area is a man named Grimjaw. And so we get up in this place and we're going through, we kill 4 people in the upstairs room, 3 people, I'm sorry, in the upstairs room that we climbed up in. And this is something that I wanted to make a note of, that I, as the necromancer in the party, sat in the back room and watched the cleric and the paladin walk up into the room of these water cultists where they're sleeping and kill them in their sleep. Now, as the DM, you have all kinds of different avenues that you can take something like that. And I know that it affected my character seeing something like that. So, is there any light that you might be able to shed on how that might affect the Princes of the Apocalypse campaign when it comes to having people who are kind of, I wouldn't say either of them are necessarily breaking away from their virtue, but they're definitely taking the classes off on a little bit of a tangent there.
Okay, so, when it comes down to good and evil and everything in between, it is a point of view. So to ask me that, if they were innocent people, if they would have killed just servants, then they would have punished themselves outwardly and inwardly as a character, and I would also make them pursue certain thought avenues when it comes to their alignment. But since their belief in this guy that is part of the Order of the Gauntlet, he already fights evil, he's telling them they're going to go kill evil, they believe they're going to kill an evil creature.
Well, and we've experienced the evil of the water cult.
Right. So in actuality, that's not evil, that's
capitalist.
Yeah, you're capitalizing. You guys got the drop on them. They were sleeping. I mean, that's, case closed.
All right. Well, moving on a little bit from that, we ended up trying to leave into a courtyard. In this particular courtyard, they had a pretty good guard set up. I had a plan to open up a gate to their dock to try to get these guards to either come and investigate what was going on with us or go down to the dock so that we could slip in behind them. I'm always out of character and my character in-game in this particular session looking for ways to make the environment work for us. I'm a 72-year-old man in this campaign, and I'm not going to just say, let's battle. My character doesn't ever want to die. That's his whole deal, is that even the religion that he's chosen because of the rumors that this particular belief holds the secrets to true eternal life. And not necessarily eternal life through undeath, which is one of the only things he may have a bunch of knowledge about. But a lot more of that will unfold as my character progresses through any campaign that he's in. So we go through this keep. I end up opening this gate after we decide that that's going to be the best thing that we can do. They send a couple of the guards up, and we dispatch of them very quickly as they come up to investigate the mechanism that opens the gate. And when we look back out the door, the courtyard is clear, and we make our way through to an area that looks like it goes underneath the main keep through a cave in the water. We go through this cave, we encounter a whole bunch of ghouls, take care of them like pro status, no trouble whatsoever, and then we come up through the bottom floor of the main hall within this keep, where Grimjaw himself, who turns out to be a werebore, sits with his retinue doing werebore and water cult retinue things.
Sifting through papers, muttering to each other in the dark.
And so we bust up in there like true thugs, and we just start blasting and throwing down. I've acquired a new spell called Hold Person, which is absolutely fantastic and can paralyze, as well as picked up a second cantrip for 1d10 damage, which helps out a whole lot. But my ability to maintain Frostbite on Grimjaw caused it to where he, I think, connected one time with someone, whereas every time Grimjaw hits you being a werebore, he can transfer a lycanthropy to you and turn you into a werebore or a were creature, whatever. And our paladin made the save on it with ease, took care of it, and we were able to dispatch of them and take care of it real easy. Found out who Grimjaw was, made all the connections. All we have to do is send word to the barge right in that the keep's going to be burnt to the ground, and we got to head back to Red Larch and find out what's going on with this narc in Red Larch that's ratting out on us to the water cult all the way from Square One in Iron Valley.
Don't forget that the underground river goes deeper in the dark.
Oh, the dungeon delving.
Don't forget that now.
I can't
You
forget
did
that.
mention you wanted to do it.
Yes, definitely. I don't want to burn the keep down yet, but that is our end goal is to take care of that and burn the keep to the ground. And I think in the end, yeah, the adventurer's spirit's going to come out of me. We'll probably come out of the full rest where we've decided to stay in the keep, because once we dispatched of Grimjaw and his retinue, there's no more cultists and all the servants ran for the hills. So we're going to spend the night, see what we can find probably in this cave, and then we'll burn the keep to the ground and head to Red Larch and investigate
And
this
then we'll burn
informant.
the keep to the ground.
I mean, that's the goal, dude.
That is the goal. That
we
was
are capable.
what was asked of. So.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the 30-minute bit that we're going to do this time. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown of our D&D endeavors in the past little while. We'll be back here in the next few days to talk to you again about something new. We'll figure out what it's going to be, and I'm real excited to be telling you guys that you're going to be able to come and get our podcast on iTunes. You're going to be able to do all that stuff there. Our website's going to be coming up so that we can have a community hub of sorts. We've been discussing with each other the values of possibly putting together a Facebook group where everyone can talk to us and each other. But as these things are coming, just keep your ears to the ground. No, we're still going to be here, and we're going to be putting out content, and we want you guys to be able to come and get it and enjoy it as soon as humanly possible. So that does it for the first 30-minute edition on Dungeons & Dragons, and this has been Josh.
And this is Matt.
And this has been the Call to the Brewman's Bottle. Sorry, dude, I forgot it.
No, dude, it's cool.
Outright. Boom, boom, boom.
Wow, wow.